Hi guys, Will Terry here, and this video is going to be called Do I Need to Be Good at Public Speaking to Be a Children's Book Illustrator? And this was a question that was given to me by somebody who just kind of emailed me, and it was a really good letter, and I'll read some of that in just a bit. Before I get going on that, I just always want to draw attention to the fact that we have a new podcast called 3 Point Perspective. It is sponsored by sbslearn.com, and you can find it in the links that I'll have in the description below. Also, I haven't been very prolific at making videos, and I apologize for that. I've been very busy with making classes for SBS, freelance, and going to conventions and things like that. And just basically life in general. So, it is what it is. I used to make a lot more videos for this channel. And I still love doing it. I just don't get the opportunity as much. And I also have kind of felt like I've covered a lot of the questions that come up on a regular basis. I have older videos, and some of those I've remade to kind of make them better or more complete. But if you guys, if you have a question you feel like I haven't covered on this channel before, if it's something that I really feel could help other people, then I might just jump into it. So like this email I got just the other day, like I think 2 days ago, and here I'm making a video for it today on Friday. And and this is one that I just never thought of, and I thought that this might help some of you guys out there. So here it is. And this guy gave me permission. I always ask for permission if I can read the email. And this guy's name is Dan, and he says, he starts off with some flattering things. That's always nice, right? To hear some neat flattering words in the beginning. To cut to the chase, I'm a young illustrator writer who recently signed on with a literary agent last summer, and this is in Germany. His agent is in Germany, with an offer to buy a story that he had written, and then he also has another offer from a smaller publisher here in New England in the States. I know that writing and illustrating picture books is insanely challenging, but for a terribly shy person like me, the most nerve-wracking aspect of children's literature is not the act of writing and illustrating, but school visits and public speaking in general. Since middle school, my goal was to be a children's book writer and illustrator, but even back then, I've dreaded the thought of speaking to 100 kids or adults or whatever like that. So, and then he says, in your experience, do publishers require illustrators and authors to do school visits and speaking conferences? I realize a lot of illustrators and authors do school visits for extra income, but when searching, I couldn't find if that was a requirement. This probably sounds ridiculous, but I think I'd rather work a second job than touring the country speaking. I really appreciate your time. Okay, so, wow, so I've heard it said, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard it said too, that people would rather die than have to give a speech in front of a large group, a large audience. That's like one of the biggest fears out there. People actually fear speaking more than death, which is it's a huge problem. And I only have my own experience to go from, so we'll try to tackle this subject and kind of talk about some different aspects of it. Like what makes certain people good or seemingly good at public speaking, and what makes people bad, and maybe talking about the fear about it. Just personally, from myself, I was. This might sound hard to believe because I'm, I talk on this channel a lot, and it seems like I can ramble for a long time. That wasn't always the case. I was deathly afraid of public speaking when I was a kid. In the church that I went to, I'm LDS. We don't have a paid clergy, and so we ask the membership to actually give talks in church. And one of the things, when it was my turn, I was so afraid of public speaking, even in church, in front of a group of people that I knew, and I knew they didn't want to kill me. I knew that they weren't going to laugh at me. And still, sometimes I would get the assignment to speak maybe 3 weeks before I actually, the date that I had to actually give the talk. And for those 3 weeks, I would rather. There was a few times where I only had like a week, and my life was so much better when I only had a week's notice, because then my life was only ruined for 1 week. But when I had 3 weeks notice, I would be going along my day, and everything would be going fine, and then it would hit me that I had to give this talk, and my heart would start racing, And so if that speaks to you at all, Dan, and any of you guys that are watching, that can show you that I have gone from the person who was deathly afraid to speak to the person now who actually loves giving talks. I like it. I didn't think. I mean, even 20 years ago, I never thought I would get to that point where I could say, I actually enjoy it. But now I actually enjoy it. I look forward to it, and so I think. There's two parts to this. There's the do I have to do it? Am I going to be required to do this? And then there's the for me, can you turn your weakness into a strength? I personally always feel like it's better to turn weaknesses into strengths. If you watch my last video, it was something really strange for this channel. I actually went down to southern Utah hiking and faced my fears of claustrophobia by going through this crack in the wall in the red rock that I ended up not being able to squeeze through. And so my nightmares came true. But the cool thing is that the neat things from that, and I probably didn't sum this up in the last video very well, is that I would definitely go back there and do it again. Now, I did find it a way through that was easier to do, but I was at the point there was a point on the trip when we were planning that trip where I wasn't going to do it. I had just decided, you know what, I'm going to alleviate the stress in my life. I'm not going to go. And I told my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, you know what, I'm just going to let you guys go. And they were all counting on me going. They're like, no, you got to go. And so it brought me back into the feelings of, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I'm going to get, claustrophobic. I don't know if I'm going to, but I really wanted to go on that hike because of how beautiful it was and all the videos I had seen online. And I love that sort of thing. And I feel like your life will become less rich if you allow your fears to control your decisions. And I feel like your life is exponentially better when you learn to turn those weaknesses into strengths. And I could give you a lot of examples of that in my life personally. I mean, one is my art. I got kicked out of, or almost kicked out of my college art program. And, when I got let in on probation, I had the choice to accept it or not. Do you want to come in on probation with these stipulations, or, you could go find another major. And that thought went through my head. And if I had, I absolutely love the life that I have set up right now. I have so much fun doing the things that I'm doing, and I love working with people. I love teaching people. I love making art. And all of that could have gone away if I had, gone away from the thing that I needed to work on, the thing that I was weak on. Drawing was always one of my weaker things, and I've turned that into a strength. And so I think that really the question you should be asking yourself is, how would you make speaking a strength? What would it look like for me to eventually get to the point where public speaking is a thrill, is an excitement, is something to look forward to rather than something to back away from. Now, the thing for me, some things that some of the ways that I actually look at speaking as, I look forward to it rather than being scared is, number one, or an aspect, I guess, of it is I never not get butterflies. So, even Barbra Streisand, even though she, was celebrity and insanely successful, everybody loved her voice. From what I understand, she would always get really bad butterflies before a performance. And I think that's because you have expectations of yourself. You want you want to do well. You want people to like you. Nobody, so we horribilize about the, the things that aren't going to go right, and we worry about those things. We worry about, getting flustered or saying something wrong, and just like this video channel. If you went back and looked at some of my very first videos, my level of comfort in front of this webcam is nowhere near developed as to where it is now. And I think that's it's like anything, when you expose yourself to something that you're not good at over time, you just if you do it, if you really put your heart into it, you'll just naturally get better. And the more you get better, the better that you get, the more confident that you get, and the more confidence you have, the less butterflies you have, because I think in your mind you can just predict what is going to happen better. The more you do it, you just go, well, all those other times it went well, so it's going to go well this time. And so I began by speaking in church, and never got over the fear, even though I probably gave 15 to 20 talks before I was, the age of 20, maybe more. I never got over it. I still, didn't want to do it. And then I started teaching at the college level, and I was just going into class where you're not having to give a talk. You just have to go in and meet everybody on the first day. It was insanely, back in the early 90s, I was insanely nervous to go even on the first day of class. It was just super nerve-wracking, and I'm sure the students could tell that I was just super nervous. It wasn't like a normal teacher coming into class going, "Hey guys, okay, were you guys ready for this semester?" And just super nervous. Then I, years later, I started teaching at UVU, and after 9 years of that, and after during that time, being asked to speak at other colleges, I've given talks at a lot of different colleges, and I can just tell you, over time, it just works itself out. I once had to give a talk. I was selected to be the California Teachers Association illustrator for 2 years, and they have a meeting, I believe it's in the summer. I think it's after school. I think it's in the summer. This was like 8 or 9 years ago. But they would gather representatives from every school district in California, and multiple teachers from every school district. And there was roughly 1,000 people in this giant ballroom. And I was very nervous for that, but I had all this other experience. One of the things that I learned early on, I got asked a long time ago. I got asked to basically speak on a panel at the first Icon conference. It wasn't called Icon at the time. It was it wasn't called Icon at the time. I can't remember what the first conference was, but it was the conference that became the Illustration Icon conferences, or the graphic design conference. Anyway, I got asked to speak on this panel, and I had Anita Kuhns sitting up there, and I had I think Brad Holland was on the panel, and he was the one that asked me to speak. And then there was a bunch of other famous illustrators, and the one I'm drawing a blank on right now. I think it was I can't think of his name, but anyway, a bunch of big name illustrators. And my idea of a panel was you just answer questions, that come up. So I didn't prepare anything, and so I get to the panel, and it's this huge ballroom, and it's just filled. And I'm like, before then, this was like I believe it was 1995. I think I was a brand new illustrator, and the reason I was asked to be on the panel is a long story, but it was because they wanted a younger illustrator's perspective on stock illustration, and I had been posting on a chat board about it. And anyway, so that's why I got asked to be with all these big name illustrators is just because I had made myself visible online. And I see other people whipping out their notes. I'm like, that's a thing? Like, we're supposed to have notes? And, you know, I see Anita Coons, and she's actually, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but she was like shaky, you know, her hands down below the table with her notes. I could see she was like nervous a little bit. And I'm like, that made me nervous, because I'm like, she's nervous. She has notes. I have no notes. I need to be, you know, really nervous. And so then it got real. And then the moderator asked each one of us to go down the line and basically introduce ourselves and tell you know, basically our thoughts on the subject that we were talking about for the panel. So it was like a little mini talk that we were supposed to give. And mine was a disaster. I was like, I draw, and I don't like stock illustration, and I bombed completely. It was great to bomb, and the reason for that is because I never bombed again like that, out of lack of preparation. And so the reason I tell that story is I think that the more prepared you are, the more confident you are, and the easier it is to do a task, especially like public speaking, because you know that the information that you're going to deliver is good. You know that it's well organized. You know that it's going to make people interested because it's good. So these people are going to be engaged. They're going to appreciate the time and effort you've taken to be organized, and they're not going to you're just going to have less negative feelings about how the whole thing's going to go. So yeah, I mean, like, you know, giving these different talks and teaching for 9 years and starting a YouTube channel and like forcing myself out into public. You know, I've talked about this before. I don't know how much I've talked about this on this channel, but I was a kid, just like a lot of kids, who was picked on in school, and that just destroyed my self-confidence for my elementary years, even through junior high. High school, I started to come out of it a little bit, but I was never the person who sought out the limelight. I was never the person who wanted to get up in front of class. I was the person you wouldn't have heard from. You probably wouldn't have even known me if you had gone to my high school, because I was one of those kids that just tried not to make any sudden moves, because you know, I was very shy and self-conscious. So I totally identify with you, Dan, on that, and probably a lot of the rest of you who are watching this who also, you know, either feel like you are shy or you were shy, or you know, typically artists in general, I think we definitely weren't the high school jocks. We weren't the drama people. Typically, you know, we were the kids that wanted to sit in the back and kind of half listen and draw at the same time, and not really be the life of the party. At least that's what I've seen from a lot of artists, and I think that's actually probably even gotten worse in this day and age, just because of the fact that we seem to be more isolated. Kids tend to be more into online interactions rather than face-to-face. And so I can see now, I don't have any statistics on this, but it wouldn't surprise me if younger people now are even more afraid of public speaking than they were when I grew up. I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. So I've spoken a lot about this, and I definitely have not answered your question. So let's get to that right now. So do you have to, if you're going to be successful? And I would say in the beginning, so there's a yes and no aspect to this. And the no is basically, you know, as you're new, you know, your books probably aren't going to do extremely well, your first books. It can happen. I can tell you this, that if your book does really well, or if your career starts to really take off, your publishers will probably want you out there more publicly. On the other end of the far end of that scale is you win a Caldecott or you win a major award, and you're expected to speak. So, for instance, the American Library Association is the one that does the Caldecott, that gives the Caldecott Award, and they also give the Newbery Award, and they have a banquet. So they'll give the award in the winter, and then you have until the summer when they meet for their summer meeting, and they have, I believe they have 20 or 30,000 librarians that descend on a city. There's one of 5 cities. They have it in L.A., they have it in Washington, D.C., they have it in Chicago. I think they have it in Atlanta and somewhere else. I can't remember the 5th city. And they switch around every year. And the Caldecott Winter and the Newbery Winter are on the program every year. I mean, like, if you win that, you have to get up there but it's a time to get up there and gush and say, it was so hard. I'm so shy and sitting back in the back drawing all the time, and my fingers had blisters on them. And it's one of those talks that everybody just can't wait to hear from you. And so on one way to answer this question would be to say, yes, you might have to do some public speaking. Then the Caldecott Winter, they used to go on the Today Show. So Al Roker used to have, or Matt Lauer before he blew up, they would have you have the Caldecott Winter on the Today Show every year. They just stopped doing that a few years ago, which is kind of sad. So you wouldn't have to do that, but there is a lot of money in doing school visits, especially if you win the Caldecott, because then you're going to be asked, basically, do you want $1,500 to come and talk to the kids for a day? Do you want $2,000 to talk to the kids for a day? That's about what they pay the higher end speaking gigs. So if you do a week, there's some of the Caldecott winners could make $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 in a week doing school visits. Definitely cuts down on your time for creating your next book. And so I think most of them don't. I think the ironic thing is, like, you could fill your time doing school visits, but because you're a Caldecott winner, you probably have a contract now for your next 2 or 3 books from the publisher you just won the award with. And so they're going to be wanting you to be writing, and so you can't do as many school visits. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. On the lower ends, nope, you don't have to do school visits, and lower end school visits are going to pay anywhere from a few $100s to $500 for a day. I think the average price for a children's book visit is around $800 to $1,000 per day. So there is a lot of money that you'd be leaving on the table if you don't ever want to do one, but you don't have to. And now I will say this, it definitely makes you more attractive to a publisher if you're out there hustling and selling books. And there are authors, I won't name names because this is speculation and I would not want to offend anybody, but I know this would probably be offensive, but there are authors who are in the schools, author illustrators, who are doing school visits all year long, and some of them are really good and some of them aren't that good. And the ones that aren't good, I see that the publishers are constantly hiring them, and I speculate that one of the reasons why they keep getting hired or they keep working with this publisher, the publisher keeps buying their books, is because they know with that author illustrator they're going to sell a lot of books just on their hustle. So it's less of a risk for the publisher. And let's say a publisher has to sell, and I don't know what the number is, but let's say they have to sell 3,000 books to break even, or 3,000 or 4,000 books to break even on your book. If you're doing school visits every week as an artist and you're selling 100 books a week and you go out 50 weeks in the year, or let's say you only go 40 weeks in the year, you're selling 4,000 books. You're going to pay for the book. There's no risk on their part. So you're definitely more attractive to a publisher if you're going to be doing school visits. On the other hand, I've never seen a publisher. I haven't had a publisher require me to do any school visits, or they haven't set them up for me. I have had a publisher get me a few school visits, but it was optional. It wasn't like you have to go do this kind of a thing. So Jake, are you available over there?
Yeah, what's up?
So we're for Little Bot and Sparrow. Come over here. Okay. This is the advantage of having another illustrator in the studio. So can you talk about when you did Little Bot really quick?
Yeah, I'll just kneel down right here. Hi, everybody. So it was I think a 6-city book tour, and the here's what it was: is I would have a signing at a bookstore, and then I would do 2 school visits while I was in the city. So it would be sometimes it was 2 signings at 2 different bookstores.
Was it a requirement
To do that?
Yeah, for Little Bot. Wasn't there like a marketing plan that you?
Oh yeah, yeah. So when I came on board, they said, "What are you okay with doing?" I said, "Anything you guys need done, I can do." And then I also threw out, here are all my ideas of what I can do, and it was, here's a contest I could do on my social media. Here's I'm fine doing school visits. I've got a presentation that I do. I'm fine doing book signings, and at the bookstores too. There was like also a presentation done there as well. So what I like doing is drawing live in front of people and asking for comments from the audience, like what do you want me to draw? And so I'll draw those things. And so I put on a show. It's my dog and pony show for the book.
So do you think if you didn't want to do that, would it have affected your deal at all? If you didn't want to do the school visits?
Yeah, the publisher really liked that I was into that. And they, the other thing I told them too is I wanted to make a video series of the book tour. So the whole time I was recording video footage of the whole thing. And then I found an editor, a guy to edit it together. And so I sent him all the raw footage, and he put it all together and made these little vlogs for it. So it was like extra promotion done for the whole thing. And I think that made a big difference in them wanting to work with me.
Because you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
So the last question, I'll let you go. Were you shy about public speaking in the beginning?
No, I've never been shy about it.
Okay, get out of here.
But listen, I have introvert tendencies. So I don't mind, I can't, how do I put this? Public speaking, or even being at a party, or even being in a group of people at a dinner, gets me very, I'm expending energy, like creative energy.
You're not an extrovert. It doesn't build you. It drains you.
Yeah, I don't leave any of these things being like, oh, I'm so pumped, let's go. I have to retreat. And sometimes when we have people over for dinner, or we have a lot of people, if we have a backyard party or something like that, about halfway through, I just need to go into my room and have a moment, recharge, and then I can go back out and be the life of the party and do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's after Comic-Con, after any sort of presentation that I give, because I've done public speaking stuff, and I've visited events where I've spoken, and after a school visit, even after teaching, when I do a live stream teaching, I just have to go retreat, spend some time by myself, and so I don't know. The thing I like about it is you have to be your own advocate. You have to put yourself out there, because nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to take control of that, and be your best hype man. Okay,
so then here's another question then. Would you say in general, and I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule, but in general, would you say that the most successful illustrators are good public speakers, or do public speaking?
There's an element to everybody I know who's successful there's this element, and that is they are able to make a connection with other people, like immediately, or if not immediately, like by the time you're done with them, you just want to know more about them, spend more time with them. And I think that element there goes really well to public speaking as well, because they bring something of that into them. So the most successful people I know just have this like connection power, where you trust them, you want to learn what their story is, their life story, and also their point of view on things and things like that. And I've seen it over and over again. And some of it's natural, but you can totally learn that stuff too. It just takes, it's practice like anything else.
One last question. Do you know anybody who's painfully shy who's also successful? Like, or who is sort of really quiet, but like they just have like killed it with their illustration work?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
I don't want to name names. So this is a shy person. This is a shy person.
And if you didn't know you were shy, now we think you're shy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
No, but the shy people who are successful recognize this important thing too.
They make connections.
They still have to get out of their shells a little bit. Every once in a while, you have like a J.D. Salinger or a Harper Lee or something like that, who is extremely successful and does not want any limelight.
Right.
And I think that if your book is basically paying for the monthly rent of a high-rise publisher's building in New York, then you can be shy as you want to be. You don't have to speak.
All right. Hey, thanks for letting me bug you.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Hey, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Leave a comment, whatever it is. No.
All right. So I guess the takeaway. Well, I'll end this by saying, I think it's. I'll just reiterate. I think it's good if you can kind of face up to your weaknesses and really try to hone them. I think it's possible. You might feel like it's impossible, but I'm living proof that it's totally possible. Jake could have lied to us, and should have, and said that it was hard for him, but he didn't. Some people are just natural, and I remember those kids in school that seemed to love to get up and give a report in front of the class. I dreaded it, but I don't anymore, and it has really opened up things like I'm supposed to give a talk at a resort at the end of the summer, and it's in a resort town out here in Utah, and they're paying me an insane amount of money to give a 1 hour it's not even an hour, it's like 45-minute talk, and it's in the thousands. And that that would be something that I would have been really nervous to do. Now I'm really looking forward to it, and I didn't have to say no to it because I was too scared to do it. So I think that like if I look at my list of like all the places where my income comes from, public speaking is a significant one every year. And I think the message I really want to send out there is you can do it. You can turn your weakness into a strength. Anyway, thanks for watching. Do not subscribe, like Jake said, unless you want to see more videos like this, and I'll catch you next time.